Why don't women say what they really want? This question has haunted the male mind for millennia, and the answer might shock you. Carl Jung, the revolutionary Swiss psychoanalyst, unveiled hidden secrets of the feminine psyche that society prefers to keep silent. Have you ever wondered why she says "I'm fine" when she clearly isn't? Why she claims "do whatever you want," but then gets upset with your choice? Why her words seem to carry completely different meanings than they appear to? The truth is disturbing. There's a secret code behind feminine words, an ancestral language that few men can decipher. Jung discovered this isn't conscious manipulation, but something much deeper. A millennial psychological programming that governs feminine communication. Prepare yourself for a journey into the collective unconscious, where revelations about anima, shadow, and feminine archetypes will completely transform your understanding of women. What you'll discover here could change your relationships forever. The secret code of feminine words. Women speak in layers that most men never learn to understand. Every conversation carries hidden meanings buried beneath the surface of ordinary words. When she says something simple like "fine" or whatever, there's an entire emotional landscape waiting to be discovered underneath. Jung taught us that feminine communication operates through what he called symbolic thinking. Unlike direct male communication, women often express their deepest needs through indirect signals, emotional undertones, and subtle body language. This isn't deception. It's a completely different way of processing and sharing feelings that connects to ancient patterns of human behavior. The female brain processes emotions differently than the male brain. While men tend to compartmentalize feelings and thoughts, women experience them as interconnected webs of meaning. When she speaks, she's not just sharing information. She's inviting you into her emotional world and testing whether you're emotionally intelligent enough to understand the invitation. Consider how she might say "I'm tired" when what she really means is "I need you to notice I'm overwhelmed and offer support without me having to ask for it directly." Or when she mentions that her friend's husband brought flowers home, she's not making casual conversation. She's expressing a desire for romantic gestures in your relationship. This communication style developed over thousands of years of human evolution. Women who could communicate emotional needs indirectly were often more successful in maintaining relationships and protecting their children. Direct confrontation could lead to abandonment or violence, so subtle communication became a survival strategy that got passed down through generations. The key to understanding this lies in recognizing that feminine communication is relationship-focused rather than task-focused. Men often communicate to solve problems or share information. Women communicate to build emotional connections, test relationship security, and create intimacy through shared understanding. When you learn to listen for the emotional content behind her words rather than just the literal meaning, everything changes. You start hearing her requests for attention when she complains about her day. You recognize her need for reassurance when she asks if you think another woman is attractive. You understand her desire for leadership when she says she doesn't care where you go for dinner. Jung believed that learning this language requires developing your own emotional intelligence and connecting with what he called your anima, the feminine aspect of your unconscious mind. This doesn't mean becoming feminine, but rather becoming whole by integrating both logical and emotional ways of understanding the world. The most important thing to remember is that this communication style isn't manipulation or game playing. It's a legitimate form of emotional expression that deserves respect and understanding. When you start responding to the emotional message behind her words instead of just the surface meaning, you'll be amazed at how much deeper and more satisfying your relationships become. By the way, if you're curious to go even deeper and integrate your shadows and light, check out the SIM Method ebook. It's a concise guide that can help you unlock your inner power in just 5 minutes a day. The link is in the first pinned comment below. The hidden anima. What she really feels. Deep within every woman's psyche lies a complex emotional world that she rarely shows completely to the outside world. Jung called this the anima, the soul image that connects her to her deepest feelings, desires, and authentic self. Understanding this hidden layer is crucial for any man who wants to truly connect with women. Most women learn early in life to hide their most vulnerable emotions behind protective masks. Society teaches them that being too emotional makes them weak, too needy makes them burdensome, and too direct makes them aggressive. So they develop sophisticated ways of expressing their true feelings without appearing too exposed or demanding. The anima operates through dreams, fantasies, and unconscious desires that often conflict with what she presents to the world. She might appear confident and independent during the day, but her anima craves safety and protection. She might act like she doesn't need romance, but her deeper self yearns for passion and emotional intensity. This creates an internal tension that shows up in contradictory behavior. She says she wants equality but feels disappointed when you don't take charge. She claims she likes your friends but feels jealous of the time you spend with them. She insists she doesn't need gifts but lights up when you surprise her with something thoughtful. The feminine anima is deeply connected to cycles. Not just biological cycles, but emotional and spiritual ones too. Her moods, needs, and desires shift in patterns that might seem random to linear male thinking, but actually follow deeper rhythms connected to her inner life. Learning to recognize and respect these cycles instead of fighting them is essential for relationship harmony. Jung discovered that women often project their anima onto romantic partners, looking for men who can understand and respond to their hidden emotional needs. This is why she might seem impossible to please. You're not just dealing with her conscious requests, but also with unconscious desires she might not even be aware of herself. The key insight is that her hidden feelings are often the opposite of what she shows you. If she appears overly independent, her anima might be craving dependence and care. If she seems emotionally closed off, her deeper self might be desperate for emotional intimacy. If she acts like she doesn't need anyone, her anima might be screaming for someone to truly see and understand her. Understanding the anima means recognizing that every woman is essentially living two lives: her outer life of roles and responsibilities, and her inner life of dreams and deep emotions. The more you can connect with and respond to her inner world, the more authentic and passionate your relationship will become. This doesn't mean ignoring what she says or assuming you know what she really wants. It means developing the sensitivity to recognize when her words and her deeper emotions don't match, and having the courage to gently explore what's really going on underneath the surface. Why no sometimes means maybe. The word no from a woman's mouth carries more complexity than most men realize. While society teaches us that no always means no, Jung's insights into feminine psychology reveal that women often use no as a testing mechanism, a protective barrier, or even an invitation for deeper engagement. This isn't about ignoring boundaries or pushing past rejection. It's about understanding that feminine communication operates on multiple levels simultaneously. When she says no to something, she might be testing your persistence, checking your emotional intelligence, or protecting herself from vulnerability while secretly hoping you'll prove worthy of her trust. The female psyche has evolved sophisticated defense mechanisms over thousands of years. Saying no initially allows her to observe how you respond under pressure. Do you become angry and aggressive? Do you immediately give up and walk away? Or do you remain calm, understanding, and gently persistent in a way that shows emotional maturity? Consider the dating scenario where she says no to your invitation but continues the conversation, maintains eye contact, and seems disappointed when you don't try again. Her conscious mind might genuinely be hesitant, but her unconscious mind is evaluating whether you have the confidence and emotional strength she's looking for in a partner. Jung taught us that women are naturally more cautious than men because they have more to lose in romantic situations. Throughout history, making the wrong choice in a partner could mean abandonment, social rejection, or even physical danger. This caution shows up as initial resistance even when there's genuine interest underneath. The key is learning to distinguish between different types of no. There's the firm, definitive no that comes with closed body language and clear discomfort. This should always be respected completely. But there's also the hesitant no that comes with lingering eye contact, playful energy, or continued engagement in conversation. Her initial resistance often serves another purpose. It helps her feel like she's not being too easy or too available. Feminine psychology includes a deep need to feel chosen and pursued rather than simply accepted. When she makes you work a little for her attention, it increases her sense of her own value and makes the eventual connection feel more meaningful. This pattern shows up in established relationships too. She might say no to your suggestion for date night, but secretly hope you'll suggest something else or convince her why it would be fun. She's not being difficult. She's giving you an opportunity to show leadership, creativity, and genuine interest in spending time with her. Understanding this dynamic requires developing emotional intelligence and learning to read the entire communication, her tone, body language, and behavior, rather than just focusing on the words. It also requires the confidence to gently persist when appropriate while always respecting genuine boundaries. The most important thing to remember is that this isn't manipulation or game playing. It's a natural feminine testing mechanism that helps women evaluate potential partners and feel more secure in their choices. When you understand and respond appropriately to these tests, you'll find that her initial resistance often transforms into deeper attraction and respect. The invisible test. Every woman makes. Every woman you encounter is constantly running invisible tests to evaluate your character, emotional strength, and worthiness as a potential partner. These tests aren't conscious schemes or deliberate manipulation. They're deeply ingrained psychological patterns that help women assess male quality and relationship potential. Jung understood that these testing behaviors emerge from the feminine unconscious as protective mechanisms. Throughout human history, women who could accurately evaluate male character were more likely to find partners who would provide, protect, and remain committed through challenges. This survival programming still operates today, even in modern dating situations. The tests come in countless forms, but they all share common themes. She might create small conflicts to see how you handle stress and disagreement. She might act slightly unreasonable to test your patience and emotional stability. She might withdraw attention to see if you become needy and desperate or remain confident and secure. One of the most common tests involves her presenting problems or challenges to see how you respond. Will you immediately try to fix everything for her, which shows you don't trust her competence? Will you dismiss her concerns, which shows you don't value her feelings? Or will you listen, offer support, and trust her ability to handle her own life? She tests your boundaries by pushing against them in small ways. If you consistently cave to her demands or change your plans whenever she's unhappy, she loses respect for your backbone. If you become rigid and controlling, she feels trapped and loses attraction. She's looking for someone who can be flexible without being weak and firm without being domineering. Financial tests are also common, though rarely direct. She might suggest expensive activities or mention things she wants to see how you respond. The test isn't whether you spend money on her, It's whether you make decisions based on your own values and budget, rather than trying to impress her or avoid conflict. Social tests happen constantly in group settings. She watches how you interact with other people, especially other women. Do you become jealous and possessive? Do you ignore her to flirt with others? Do you treat service workers with respect? Your behavior in social situations reveals character traits that matter in long-term relationships. Perhaps the most important test involves your reaction to her emotions. When she's upset, stressed, or emotional, she's unconsciously evaluating whether you can remain centered and supportive without becoming overwhelmed yourself. Men who panic, become defensive, or try to shut down her emotions fail this test immediately. The key to passing these tests isn't to become manipulative or calculating in response. It's to develop genuine emotional maturity, confidence, and integrity that naturally handles these situations well. When you're secure in yourself and clear about your values, you'll respond to her tests in ways that build attraction rather than destroying it. Understanding that these tests are happening helps you recognize them without becoming resentful. Instead of seeing them as unfair games, you can appreciate them as opportunities to demonstrate your quality and build deeper trust in the relationship. The strongest relationships are built between people who have tested each other thoroughly and chosen to stay together anyway. The feminine shadow, desires she hides. Every woman carries within her psyche what Jung called the shadow, a collection of desires, impulses, and aspects of herself that she's learned to hide from the world and sometimes even from herself. Understanding this hidden part of feminine psychology is crucial for any man who wants to connect with women on a deeper level. Society teaches women to suppress many of their natural desires and impulses. They learn to hide their sexuality, their aggression, their competitiveness, and their need for dominance behind masks of politeness and social acceptability. But these suppressed aspects don't disappear. They go underground and influence behavior in subtle but powerful ways. The feminine shadow often contains intense sexual desires that contradict her public image. She might present herself as sweet and innocent while harboring fantasies of passion and surrender. She might act like sex isn't important to her while secretly craving intense physical and emotional connection. This creates confusion for men who try to respect her stated preferences while missing her deeper needs. Many women hide their desire for masculine leadership and dominance. Despite what modern culture teaches about equality, the feminine psyche often craves a partner who can take charge, make decisions, and provide direction. But expressing this desire feels politically incorrect, so it gets pushed into the shadow where it creates internal conflict and relationship problems. The shadow also contains her aggressive and competitive instincts. Women are often socialized to be nurturing and cooperative, but they have the same drives for success, recognition, and dominance as men. When these drives can't be expressed directly, they show up as passive-aggressive behavior, manipulation, or indirect competition. Her need for security and provision often lives in the shadow too. She might claim to be independent and self-sufficient, while secretly hoping for a partner who can take care of her financially and emotionally. This creates the confusing dynamic where she says she doesn't need anyone but becomes resentful when you don't provide support. The feminine shadow frequently contains what Jung called the dark feminine, aspects of power, sexuality, and wildness that civilization has taught women to suppress. This includes her capacity for seduction, her enjoyment of being desired, and her natural feminine power over men. When this energy can't be expressed healthily, it creates problems in relationships. Understanding her shadow means recognizing that she often wants the opposite of what she says she wants. If she emphasizes her independence too strongly, she might be hiding deep desires for dependence. If she claims to hate drama, she might secretly crave emotional intensity. If she acts like she doesn't care about romance, she might be protecting herself from disappointment. The key is creating safe spaces where she can express her shadow aspects without judgment. When she feels secure enough to show you her hidden desires, whether they're sexual, emotional, or psychological, the relationship reaches a new level of intimacy and authenticity. This doesn't mean ignoring what she says or assuming you know what she really wants. It means staying attuned to the contradictions between her words and her energy, and having the emotional intelligence to help her feel safe enough to be honest about her deeper needs. Many relationship problems stem from shadow projections. She unconsciously expects you to fulfill desires she won't admit to having, then becomes frustrated when you can't read her mind. Understanding the shadow helps you navigate these dynamics with compassion rather than confusion. When silence speaks louder. In the complex world of feminine communication, what she doesn't say often carries more weight than what she does say. Women use silence as a powerful form of expression, and Jung understood that these quiet moments reveal crucial information about her inner emotional state and deepest needs. Feminine silence operates on multiple levels simultaneously. Sometimes it serves as punishment, withdrawing verbal connection to express disappointment or hurt. Sometimes it's protection, creating emotional distance when she feels too vulnerable to speak. And sometimes it's invitation, creating space for you to step up and show emotional leadership. The quality of her silence tells you everything you need to know. Cold, withdrawn silence that comes with closed body language and avoided eye contact signals hurt, anger, or disappointment. This type of silence is asking you to recognize that something is wrong and take initiative to address it without being prompted. Warm, expectant silence that comes with soft eye contact and open body language is completely different. This silence is creating space for deeper connection. She's giving you room to share something meaningful, ask important questions, or take the conversation to a more intimate level. Missing these opportunities disappoints her and makes her feel like you're not emotionally present. Women often use silence to test masculine leadership. Instead of telling you what she wants directly, she'll become quiet and see if you have the emotional intelligence to recognize her needs and take appropriate action. This isn't manipulation. It's a natural feminine way of evaluating whether you can be trusted to lead and care for her without constant direction. Her silence frequently appears after arguments or conflicts. While men often want to move on quickly and forget about problems, women need time to process emotions and evaluate what happened. Her quiet periods after disagreements are crucial for relationship health. They allow her to decide whether she feels heard, understood, and respected. The feminine psyche processes emotions differently than the masculine psyche. Where men tend to think through problems logically, women often need to feel through them emotionally. Her silence provides the internal space necessary for this emotional processing. Pressuring her to talk before she's ready usually backfires and makes her feel even less understood. Understanding the different types of silence helps you respond appropriately. Hurt silence needs acknowledgement and gentle inquiry about what's wrong. Processing silence needs patience and space without pressure. Inviting silence needs you to step up and provide emotional leadership or deeper connection. One of the most important things to recognize is that her silence is never really empty. It's full of unspoken communication waiting for you to decode. Learning to read these nonverbal messages dramatically improves your ability to connect with women and respond to their emotional needs. The key is developing the patience to sit with her silence instead of rushing to fill it with words. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply be present with her quiet energy and let her feel your solid, unchanging support without needing to fix or change anything. Jung taught us that silence is the language of the unconscious. In her quiet moments, she's often connecting with deeper parts of herself that don't easily translate into words. Respecting and understanding this process shows emotional maturity that most men never develop. The mother archetype versus the real woman. One of the biggest obstacles to understanding women comes from confusing the archetypal mother image with the complex reality of actual feminine psychology. Jung warned that men often project idealized maternal qualities onto women, creating unrealistic expectations that damage relationships and prevent authentic connection. The mother archetype represents nurturing, selflessness, unconditional love, and constant availability. This powerful image lives in the masculine unconscious and influences how men expect women to behave. But real women are complete human beings with their own needs, desires, moods, and limitations that don't match this idealized image. When men expect women to always be nurturing and supportive, they miss the full spectrum of feminine psychology. Real women have days when they're tired, cranky, or focused on their own problems. They have needs for attention, appreciation, and care that must be met for them to feel motivated to nurture others. They have personal goals and interests that matter as much as taking care of relationships. The archetypal mother is always available and endlessly giving. Real women need time for themselves, space to process emotions, and periods where they receive rather than give. When men don't understand this difference, they become confused and resentful when women set boundaries or prioritize their own needs. This confusion shows up constantly in romantic relationships. Men often expect their partners to provide the same unconditional acceptance and constant support they receive from their mothers. But romantic relationships operate on different principles. Romantic partners need to feel chosen and appreciated, not taken for granted like maternal figures. The mother archetype also creates problems with sexuality and passion. Men who see women primarily through the maternal lens struggle to integrate feminine sexuality and desire. They create splits between good women who are pure and nurturing and bad women who are sexual and passionate. This prevents them from connecting with complete, integrated feminine beings. Real women contain both maternal and sexual energy, both nurturing and demanding aspects, both giving and receiving needs. They want to care for their partners, but they also want to be cared for. They want to support masculine strength, but they also want to be protected and provided for. They want to be understanding, but they also want to be understood. Understanding this difference transforms how you approach relationships. Instead of expecting her to always be the giving, nurturing one, you recognize that healthy relationships require mutual care and support. Instead of being shocked when she has needs and demands, you appreciate her willingness to be honest about what she requires. The key insight is that women can access their maternal, nurturing energy more easily when their own feminine needs are being met. When she feels cherished, protected, and appreciated, her natural desire to care for others flows freely. When she feels taken for granted or unsupported, that nurturing energy shuts down. Jung taught that integrating the real woman rather than the archetypal mother is essential for psychological maturity. This means accepting her full humanity, her strengths and weaknesses, her generous and selfish moments, her nurturing and demanding sides. Only when you can love a complete human being rather than an idealized image can you experience authentic intimacy. Decoding the feminine collective unconscious. The deepest level of understanding feminine psychology requires grasping what Jung called the collective unconscious, ancient patterns of behavior and desire that all women share, regardless of culture, education, or individual personality. These universal feminine drives operate below conscious awareness, but powerfully influence how women think, feel, and behave in relationships. The feminine collective unconscious contains evolutionary programming that developed over hundreds of thousands of years of human survival. Women who could attract strong partners, secure resources, and protect their children were more likely to pass on their genes. This ancient programming still influences modern feminine behavior in ways that often seem irrational or contradictory to logical male thinking. Security-seeking behavior emerges from this deep programming. Throughout history, women needed partners who could provide physical protection and material resources during vulnerable periods of pregnancy and child-rearing. Modern women might not consciously think about these needs, but their unconscious minds still evaluate men for signs of strength, reliability, and resource potential. The drive for emotional connection also comes from collective feminine programming. Women who could create strong emotional bonds with partners were more likely to maintain long-term relationships and secure ongoing support. This is why women naturally prioritize emotional intimacy and become distressed when they feel emotionally disconnected from their partners. Competition with other women represents another aspect of the collective unconscious. Despite surface friendships and cooperation, women are unconsciously programmed to compete for the highest quality male partners. This creates complex dynamics where women support each other while simultaneously evaluating and competing with each other for masculine attention and commitment. The feminine unconscious also contains what Jung called the eternal feminine, a deep connection to cycles, intuition, and emotional wisdom that transcends individual personality. This is why women often seem to know things they can't logically explain, pick up on emotional undercurrents that men miss, and respond to situations based on feeling rather than thinking. Understanding these collective patterns helps explain behaviors that seem mysterious or irrational on the surface. Her need to test your strength isn't personal manipulation. It's unconscious programming designed to evaluate partner quality. Her emotional reactions that seem disproportionate to the situation often connect to deeper archetypal fears about security and abandonment. The collective unconscious also explains why women respond so powerfully to certain masculine qualities regardless of cultural background. Confidence, leadership, protectiveness, and emotional stability trigger positive responses in the feminine psyche because they signal the kind of strength that has always been valuable for survival and child-rearing. These universal patterns operate alongside individual personality and conscious preferences. A woman might intellectually prefer equality and independence while unconsciously responding to masculine leadership and strength. She might consciously value sensitivity while unconsciously testing for emotional resilience. These contradictions make perfect sense when understood through the lens of collective programming. The key to working with the collective unconscious is recognizing these patterns without judging them as right or wrong. They're simply part of human nature that has evolved over millions of years. Fighting against them creates internal conflict and relationship problems. Understanding and working with them creates harmony and deeper connection. Jung believed that true intimacy requires connecting with these deeper layers of the psyche rather than just surface personality. When you can recognize and respond appropriately to her unconscious drives and needs, you tap into levels of feminine psychology that create profound attraction, respect, and lasting commitment that transcend temporary emotions and surface-level compatibility. The dance of push and pull. Women naturally create emotional rhythms in relationships that most men completely misunderstand. This isn't random behavior or emotional instability. It's a deeply ingrained pattern that Jung recognized as essential to feminine psychology and healthy relationship dynamics. The push and pull pattern shows up in countless ways throughout relationships. She draws you close with affection and attention, then creates distance through withdrawal or conflict. She expresses love and appreciation, then becomes critical or demanding. She shows interest and enthusiasm, then becomes cool and unavailable. This cycle confuses men who prefer consistent, linear progress in relationships. Jung understood that this behavior connects to ancient feminine programming designed to maintain long-term attraction and commitment. Throughout human history, women who could keep partners emotionally engaged and invested were more likely to secure ongoing protection and resources. Constant availability often led to being taken for granted and eventually abandoned. The feminine psyche needs to feel pursued and chosen rather than simply accepted. When she pulls away, she's creating space for you to step forward and demonstrate your continued interest and commitment. When she creates small conflicts or challenges, she's testing whether you'll fight for the relationship or give up easily when things get difficult. This dynamic also serves to maintain passion and excitement in long-term relationships. Constant closeness and availability often leads to boredom and loss of attraction for both partners. By creating natural cycles of distance and reconnection, she keeps the relationship feeling alive and dynamic rather than stagnant and predictable. Men often make the mistake of trying to eliminate this pattern by demanding consistency or becoming hurt and withdrawn when she pulls away. But fighting against the push and pull actually destroys the natural feminine energy that makes relationships exciting and passionate. Learning to dance with this rhythm instead of resisting it transforms relationship dynamics. The key is understanding that her pulling away isn't rejection or loss of interest. It's an invitation for you to pursue her again. When she becomes distant or challenging, she's not trying to push you away permanently. She's creating an opportunity for you to demonstrate your strength, persistence, and genuine desire for her. This pattern also allows her to maintain her sense of individual identity within the relationship. The pulling away phases give her time to reconnect with herself, process her emotions, and evaluate the relationship from a healthy distance. The pulling close phases allow her to experience intimacy and connection without losing herself completely. Understanding the deeper purpose of push and pull helps you respond appropriately. When she creates distance, you can pursue her with confidence rather than becoming insecure or angry. When she draws close, you can enjoy the intimacy without clinging or becoming possessive. When she tests or challenges you, you can see it as an opportunity to demonstrate your character rather than a personal attack. The most important thing to remember is that this dance requires two people. Your response to her pushing and pulling determines whether the pattern creates deeper connection or relationship destruction. Men who become reactive, needy, or controlling during these cycles usually end up pushing women away permanently. Learning to maintain your own emotional center while dancing with her rhythms is one of the most valuable relationship skills you can develop. It requires confidence in yourself and the relationship, patience with feminine psychology, and the emotional intelligence to recognize patterns rather than taking everything personally. When you master this dance, relationships become much more enjoyable and sustainable. Instead of fighting against natural feminine energy, you learn to work with it in ways that create ongoing attraction, respect, and deep emotional connection that strengthens over time, rather than fading away. The protection test. Every woman unconsciously evaluates whether a man can protect her, not just physically, but emotionally and psychologically. This ancient survival instinct shows up in modern relationships through subtle tests that most men completely miss or misunderstand. Jung recognized this as one of the most fundamental drives in feminine psychology. She doesn't need you to fight off wild animals or enemy tribes anymore, but her feminine psyche still craves the security that comes from knowing you can handle whatever life throws at you both. This protection drive goes much deeper than physical strength. It's about emotional resilience, mental toughness, and the ability to remain calm under pressure when everything around you is falling apart. The testing often appears as emotional storms or dramatic situations that seem to come out of nowhere. She might pick fights about small things, become upset about situations that seem manageable, or create chaos when everything seems to be going well. Your response to these moments tells her everything she needs to know about your protective capacity and whether she can truly depend on you. Men who become defensive, angry, or overwhelmed during these tests fail immediately. She's not looking for someone who matches her emotional intensity or tries to shut down her feelings. She's looking for someone who can remain grounded and steady while she processes whatever she's experiencing. This requires a special kind of inner strength that few men possess. The protection test also shows up through her sharing problems and concerns with you. This isn't necessarily a request for you to fix everything, but rather an evaluation of how you handle stress and difficulty. Do you panic when she's upset? Do you immediately try to solve everything for her? Or do you listen, stay calm, and offer appropriate support without losing your center? She watches how you deal with other people too. How do you handle aggressive waiters, difficult family members, or challenging social situations? Your ability to navigate these interactions with confidence and composure tells her whether you can protect the relationship from external pressures and conflicts that will inevitably arise. Financial security represents another aspect of the protection test. While she might not need you to be wealthy, she needs to feel like you can handle money responsibly and make good decisions under pressure. Men who become stressed or reactive about financial challenges often fail this deeper test of protective capacity that goes beyond just having money. Your ability to make decisions under pressure is constantly being evaluated. She creates situations where you need to choose quickly or handle unexpected problems. Can you think clearly when stressed? Can you take charge when she needs leadership? Can you remain confident when facing uncertainty? These qualities matter more than almost anything else. The protection test extends to how you handle her emotions when she's at her most vulnerable. When she's crying, angry, or completely overwhelmed, she's unconsciously checking whether you can be her safe harbor in the storm. Men who try to fix her emotions, become uncomfortable with her feelings, or make her emotional states about themselves fail this crucial test. She also tests whether you can protect her from herself during her difficult moments. When she's being unreasonable, making poor decisions, or letting emotions cloud her judgment, can you gently guide her back to stability without being controlling or condescending? This requires incredible emotional intelligence and inner strength. The key insight is that she's not testing whether you're perfect or can solve every problem. She's testing whether you can remain strong and stable when things get difficult. Women are naturally drawn to men who can be their rock during emotional storms, their steady presence during uncertainty, and their confident leader during challenging times. Understanding this dynamic helps you respond appropriately when these tests appear. Instead of becoming frustrated with her emotions or trying to avoid difficult situations, you can see them as opportunities to demonstrate your strength and reliability. Instead of taking her tests personally, you can appreciate them as natural feminine behavior designed to build security and trust. The strongest relationships develop between partners where the woman feels completely protected and secure, allowing her feminine energy to flow freely. When she trusts your ability to handle whatever comes up, she can relax into her natural femininity and focus on loving and supporting you rather than constantly evaluating your strength and reliability. This protection instinct is so deep that it often overrides logical thinking. She might choose a man who offers less financial security or fewer surface advantages but makes her feel more protected and safe. The feeling of security you provide matters more than external circumstances or material offerings. Mastering the protection test means developing genuine inner strength that doesn't depend on external validation or perfect circumstances. It means becoming the kind of man who others naturally turn to during crises because they trust your ability to remain calm and find solutions when everyone else is falling apart. Now that you understand these hidden layers of feminine psychology, you face a choice that will define your relationships forever. Will you use this knowledge to manipulate and control? Or will you develop the genuine strength and emotional intelligence that naturally attracts and fulfills women? Jung warned that true understanding comes with responsibility, the responsibility to become the kind of man worthy of a woman's deepest trust and authentic love. The real question isn't whether women mean what they say, but whether you're strong enough to handle the beautiful complexity of what they really feel. Most men will watch this video, nod their heads, and change nothing about themselves. But the few who truly internalize these insights and work on developing genuine masculine strength will discover relationships so deep and passionate that they'll wonder how they ever lived without this understanding. The choice is yours. Will you remain confused by feminine psychology, or will you finally become the man who can decode and fulfill her deepest needs?